We'll start, okay? We are left with this class with related to Quad and its relevance. So before understanding Quad, you should understand the changes that are taking place in the global world order. Only then you will understand this Quad, that whole picture, the background of that whole thing, you should understand that thing. That is why I introduced the next topic of related to that only, that appeared in last week only. It talks about the current status of world order and the India's opportunities and challenges that India has in this world order. Okay, relative to this next article will be very useful for you to cover the background related to this whole Quad area, the gameplay, the great gameplay which is happening in the world. Okay, the tussle between the powers in order to capture the power and all, right? They want to world to move in their own direction. China wants to make sure that world moves in its own direction. That is where the area of Indo-Pacific region has become more prominent rather than West Asian countries. Now Indo-Pacific region has been more prominent. So in that aspect, you should first understand the importance of Indo-Pacific region. So tell me, there are some 3 to 4 points that should always remember. One is resources. Region is very rich in resources of what kind of natural resources that you are expecting. Now our minerals are being extracted and they are being almost the reserves are being depleted. Now we are finding new reserves in oceans. What are those new reserves? Do you guys know? Yes, polymetallic nodules. And this becomes a different separate topic. Anyway, we will not focus upon that thing again. What else? Methyl hydrates. Right. What are these methyl hydrates? They are useful for two things. Of course, within the energy aspect itself, methane is necessary for natural gas, which is a cleaner fuel, and hydrate molecules are important to produce hydrogen, which is useful for hydrogen based energy production, fuel cell technology. Right. So two aspects it is covering. In that aspect, anyway, it is also a very rich resource of food. Okay. It is very important for food security. That is why our third topic today's discussion will be with regard to food security. And recently UN has had a summit related to food security. I think that was in news last week itself. That is where we are trying to cover the importance of food security also in this class today. Okay. 3. Resources. Next. Trade. Can you tell me some points of showing the significance of this trade aspect in related to Indo-Pacific region? Geography related, anything? Oil trade happens through West Asia. What are the important choke points there in West Asia? Strait of Hormuz, yeah, Suez Canal, all are there. And same way, in Indo-Pacific region, you will have, what is this? Strait of Malacca, Sunda Strait, okay, and then Lombok Strait. Identify them in geography, in map and all, okay. What are the seas, between which seas these straits are located and between which countries or which regions, which islands these are located. Okay, I think frequently UPSC is asking questions there, no? Even from point of view of prelims. Okay, straits. And not only this, oil trade, 32 I think approximately million barrels of crude oil gets transported through this Indo-Pacific region. And crude oil is very important for meeting energy requirements. India depends, 80% of its import needs are met through No, oil needs are met through imports, right? In that aspect, protecting these choke points is very important, and the volume or the value of this oil trade is very huge that is happening through Indo-Pacific region. And then 40% of global exports takes place in the region. And what is the next important region where global exports take place other than Indo-Pacific? Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, that North America and US, Europe and Africa, these continents are across this Atlantic Ocean. So Atlantic Ocean is next to this export regime, okay, export potential of this area. Okay, Indo-Pacific is even more. What else? Presence, of course, rise of China, especially that related to the South China Sea. Okay, and South China Sea holds huge reserves of oil and the methyl hydrates. Almost 11, I think 11 billion barrels of oil reserves are found here. 11 billion, and here see it is 32 million only. 11 billion oil reserves are there. 11 billion barrels of oil reserves are there in South China Sea itself. Okay, that is significance. And then it contributes to the global trade of value for the value of 3.5 trillion. Okay. Important industrial areas of China and also various South Asian countries are present in South China Sea. Okay, Vietnam, what else? Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, all important choke points, industrial areas. Vietnam is famous for what? In these recent times, it is gaining importance towards apparel production, textile production, right? So important industries are coming out of China and finding their way into these Asian countries, ASEAN countries, in fact. So this aspect of global trade of this value is going to further increase, and exponentially it is going to increase. The trade with USA and Europe, between them, Atlantic Ocean, it has become obsolete now in the sense that it has grown too much. It won't grow in a percentage terms, it won't be too drastic for them. It is not advantageous for them also. That is why world is pushing, and the view of the world is traveling to this area, moving to this area, Indo-Pacific region. And in terms of growth, in terms of contribution to GDP, 60% of world GDP comes from this region itself. Of course, covering all these aspects, one more important thing that is happening in the Indo-Pacific region is rise of China. Both militarily as well as economically. China is constructing artificial islands. News are spreading like anything. Military aspect, infrastructure development, okay, military infrastructure development, especially in Indo-Pacific region. These are the important areas because of which Indo-Pacific has become very important in these recent times. So not only just to contain the rise of China, but also to promote socio-economic development in the ASEAN as well as Indo-Pacific region, the Quad group has come into picture. That is the basis of formation of Quad. That is why the goal of Quad, what is the goal of Quad grouping? Free and open Indo-Pacific region. That is the main goal. In which year did it form? 2007. Okay. What is the nature of this Quad group? It is a strategic dialogue. Okay. It is an informal nature. It is informal in nature. There is no any kind of formal application, formal kind of thing in the sense that there is no specialized institution. There is no what is specific set of rules or charter prepared that this is the things which we are going to focus upon. There are no such things. It is a very open dialogue that is happening. It is a strategic dialogue. Okay, informal in nature. As I said, goal itself, this is the goal. Okay, free and open Indo-Pacific region. And one important area which related to Quad is this naval exercise, Malabar. But however, this Quad has not been able to fulfill certain promises or certain aims which USA wanted it to happen. USA want the countries to combine and confront with China, but India is hesitant to it. It does not want any kind of open fight with any country, especially with China, because it has border disputes. These countries, members, I forgot to note down the members. India, Japan, US and Australia, right? So these countries are not having any big border disputes. Of course, Japan has Senkaku Islands are there between between Japan and China in Southeast China Sea, I think. Senkaku Island, that is a disputed island between Japan and China. And this question has come, I think, in UPSC previously in prelims. Okay. So that is not a major problem for them between China and Japan. But however, Japan is actually in confrontationist mode that it wants to fight against China in whatever way possible. At least it will say whatever USA wants to say, right? But India is not such kind of thing. India has to play a two-front war from Pakistan as well as from China, two-side war. If you provoke each one of them, enemies, friends. That is how Kautilya's foreign policy is also all about. Okay. Anyway, see, these are the 5 points related to Quad. But however, Quad has not been able to achieve certain things, because of which we are seeing there are certain drawbacks within this Quad which are giving enough scope for the rise of this grouping. So let us see the differences. They might ask in UPSC, right? Write the differences between Quad and this grouping, A, UK, US, and then what are the opportunities related to Quad, especially when this grouping is in rise. In what way this Quad will be able to address its goals of ensuring free and open Indo-Pacific region, and what kind of role India can play. With this rise of this grouping, there is no relevance for this Quad group, and what kind of role that India can expect it to play. Right? India is not a member here. So let us find certain differences and then we'll understand those things. In which year did it form? 2021. So what is it? What is the nature of this grouping? That is another aspect, but look at it in broader way. Okay, it is a strategic pact. It is not just a dialogue. It is a strategic pact. So what is the goal? What is the goal? Of course, it wants a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Of course, it is a stated goal. But it wants military presence. Western military presence, okay? Western military presence in Indo-Pacific region. We are seeing, I have told you, rise of China happening with the military infrastructure development, creation of artificial islands. Okay, these are which little problematic. That is why these countries want to balance it with their presence, military presence. Like Malabar exercise, there is one prominent thing that this grouping is going to do. What is that particular thing? Australia. See, Australia is going to get nuclear submarines from USA. Okay, is Australia nuclear power? Does Australia has nuclear weapons or nuclear material with them? No. So under NATO, what happens is countries, certain European countries like Germany or Poland or Spain, okay, or Canada even, Western power, okay, right? They haven't actually acquired nuclear powers, nuclear weapons, in the sense that USA will become the net security provider for them all. Under the NATO, it itself says that if any country is aggressive over these particular countries, NATO countries, other countries will be coming to help and aid them. That is what USA is doing with regard to Australia. Australia is not a nuclear power. It does not have any kind of nuclear weapons or anything. But now USA is weaponizing them. In Quad, one of the biggest hurdle was with related to India and Australia was Australia and India are not in open confrontation with China. Okay, they were hesitant to talk about China within the Quad group. But now Australia has come out of this hesitation, and with more conviction it is challenging China now. It is more confident in challenging China now. That is why it formed this group. Otherwise Australia coming into this group is not possible at all. Since Australia is receiving this nuclear submarine architecture or weaponized aspect of this particular group, has brought or encouraged Australia to come into this specific strategic pact. This is something like a military alliance, right, in Indo-Pacific region. But however, it is very hard that Japan has not been in this group. That is one of the thing which you should note down here. Okay, these are the main differences. But however, what are the drawbacks related to Quad because of which this grouping has gained prominence? And specifically, this grouping is also having separate repercussions because of which USA has been more vocal about forming this group. Tell me the drawbacks that you can find within the Quad grouping. Here it is. Okay, drawbacks within the Quad. The nature itself is informal. Okay, the groups were able to find an institutionalized base even for G20 or anything. That grouping also is not having any kind of secretariat or anything, because of which most of the deliberations will not be any outcome oriented deliberations, won't be there. Same thing is happening with Quad. There is no institutionalization. In that aspect, everyone is free to talk, but there won't be any kind of concrete action that is coming out from these institutions, right? If there is no concrete action taken till now. See, in these forums, countries were aware of the military consequences that China can pose, okay? But they are not vocal about it. In their joint statements of Quad and anything, till now, it was found that they were mentioning North Korea very freely. But in that kind of freeness, they are not mentioning China. They know their strategic considerations. Hesitation within the group is one more drawback. The purpose of the group indirectly everybody knows, but they are not openly coming out. Okay, if there is no purpose, what is the relevance of this particular group? It won't be long lasting in that sense, right? And then it talked about open and free Indo-Pacific Ocean, but its goals are not specific. So what do you mean by free and open Indo-Pacific region? If each country was asked, each country was giving different answer. That is what the problem here. Okay, the definition of free and open Indo-Pacific region is different for different countries in the sense that the goal has been not properly concentrated in a particular way. It is not focused. It is not specific. This happens with the joint statements only. They are frequently coming with the meetings and they are frequently releasing joint statements and they are having different opinions on different matters. That is the trouble here. And then there is no a charter prepared. That is what, specifying the objectives and roles of different institutions. There is no charter prepared. Charter is there in your GS paper 2, citizens charter topic is there, but anyway, related to that, internationally also, different groupings have their own charter saying that these are our objectives, this is where we are going to work about, and this is where we are working also. There is no such thing. And all these things are giving rise to this, giving opportunity for the rise of this grouping, but however this grouping is also having separate agenda. See, now USA is withdrawing from Afghanistan. Now the confidence on about USA being the net security provider among the NATO members has becoming diluted, is weakening. In that sense, USA is searching for new avenues to portray its dominance, to portray that, okay, we are still in the game, we are not backing off or anything. It needs to give that confidence to those members, to US allies. That is where this thing comes. Confidence. After series of setbacks for USA, in Iran, it has been failing. Okay, and now in Afghanistan, it has not been able to fulfill. Global war on terror, no, it hasn't seen any kind of significant outcomes related to it. Even more and more terrorist groups are forming, finding a new name, and they are finding new avenues, pathways. So they did not overcome the troubles of the world, which they were trying to say that we are going to solve these things. Okay, that is where the confidence between, and even during Trump region, he was so vocal that other countries are not taking any responsibility and USA is spending lots and lots of money on them. That is why he withdrew financial aid to several international organizations, and we have been seeing that in news in the past 4 years. He withdrew the financial aid to NATO, World Trade Organization, World Health Organization, even to World Bank. Okay, some might say that it is a global change that is happening because of the rise of certain countries economically. That is where the contribution of USA is reducing. That will happen, but purposefully they are reducing means there is a certain thing. So USA is one or the other way is losing confidence among its allies. So this grouping will help build that confidence build that confidence again into the US allies. That is where it is providing nuclear weapons to US, Australia. Okay. What else can be the reason? There is one more reason, I guess. Which I already told you. The past hesitation of Australia is going to be removed now. Right? Australia is one of the biggest power in Indo-Pacific region, apart from India, China, and Japan. Okay, which can actually directly confront with China properly because it does not have any kind of territorial disputes with China. It is not having that political problem there. So it can play a more proactive role and take the stand what USA can stand. So Australia is even more pivot for USA rather than India or Japan. So it has tried very much to pivot India and Japan. It has, see, since 2008, okay, we had nuclear pact with USA. Okay, in Japan we have developed civil nuclear agreement, and then France came with our civil nuclear agreement, which previously these countries used to have reservations. That is because to make sure that China's rise won't be left unchecked, and they want India to play part. Right? So now when India has not been able in one or the other way because of various reasons it can be. That is why USA is finding more interest in Australia right now, and these are the two main reasons, okay? Overcoming of hesitation. And of course these drawbacks combinedly. So what kind of impact that it can have on India now? That is the one more purpose of, or one more dimension that we need to focus upon. What is the impact on India because of these changes? So Quad has provided a certain space for India to talk with great powers with a common purpose, and that space is being taken away now, right, with the rise of the grouping UK, US, right, the strategic space taken away, especially with related to relationship with great powers, is very important during these particular times. And second impact it could have is that through Quad, what the India aimed is that it can talk with the like-minded countries of ASEAN and all and find a common agenda to confront with China, to find an allies. That is what happens with India's neighborhood also, no? So whenever India has some trouble with some country in our neighborhood, China will find an opportunity to attract that particular country. That is happening with Nepal, even Bangladesh. Okay, Pakistan also it has different issue, but Sri Lanka. So whenever India is having confrontation with any particular neighbor, China is finding an opportunity to come and build its relationship. Same thing. The Quad can provide that opportunity with related to India. China is having several disputes with ASEAN countries. ASEAN countries have several reservations, and India can find an opportunity there, and these countries also want India to come there and help. In what kind of way? Recently we have seen certain outcomes also. Vietnam, India is sending some naval ships to them, selling naval ships, and India is focusing on, what you say, exporting BrahMos missile, and Philippines is very interested to buy it. Okay. And these are all facts, but you need to combine them in a proper way and analyze things. So Quad has been, and that is happening recently because these things are happening recently because of this Quad itself. But now the relevance of Quad being diluted, that kind of achievements that India is trying to make can be backridden in the sense that it can be slowed down further. Right? These are the two major impacts, okay, ASEAN. Okay. But why is India hesitant to take directly to make use of this Quad and come and take action against China? Why India is hesitant? One reason I've already told you. Doesn't want to take too much risk. Okay. Doesn't want to provoke China because it already has several border disputes. Okay. Secondly, traditional mindset. Non-aligned movement. We won't be joining any kind of military alliance. That is what Jawaharlal Nehru said. We are against military alliances. And through Quad, USA wants that to happen. But because of this traditional mindset, okay, of restricting India to join any kind of military alliance, which is being seen even now. That is one of the reasons. There are two main reasons for India to take a proper action or take a proper step or take a proactive step in a sense. Okay, these are the two main reasons of India's hesitation. But can we say that Quad's relevance has completely gone away because of this rise of? And see, these points are not particularly given by me. I've given the points by substantiating certain examples. Okay, but Happy Man Jacob is the person who has given all these things that I told you in that particular newspaper. So what happens now? As Quad has lost its relevance, and now the answer comes from the different author Rajiv Bhatia. He has given a very beautiful answer. That kind of balanced approach is also very much important for us in UPSC, right? Relevance is not lost, though drawbacks are there. So first relevance, important relevance that he talks about is, see, though Quad might not be able to confront China in a militaristic way or defense purpose or through defense dimension, but whatever the China's challenges related to technology or economy, we can confront them with Quad. Okay. Economic and technological challenges posed by China can be fought with the Quad itself. How? Is it happening? And it is happening. How it will fight? Sustainable infrastructure. Are you seeing any kind of points which you can substantiate with related to this? There is something called Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure that India has brought this up, and there is something called Blue Dot Network. Find out them, okay? Blue Dot Network, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, okay? And these are, in a way, these are directly, indirectly trying to focus upon China's Belt and Road Initiative. So through Belt and Road Initiative, China is trying to build lot of infrastructure for trade. And through Blue Dot Network, what USA is trying to say is that, okay, we are not trying to disrupt any kind of infrastructure building, but we'll standardize how we'll develop a certain kind of code that these kind of materials can be used for building infrastructure. Okay, what kind of technology can be used, what kind of designs can be applied in a particular location, those kind of coding and standardization of infrastructure development we'll do through Belt and Road Initiative. Through this Blue Dot Network, sorry. Same thing, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. Infrastructure should be, what do you say, very strong in the sense that it won't be destroyed through any kind of disaster. So in such kind of way, this Quad can help to promote sustainable infrastructure. Okay. Next, vaccine diplomacy. which we are seeing now. What is the outcome from the recent Quad meeting? Or even last year itself, last year also they have mentioned the same thing. Okay, they are asking me what is the Australia's interest here and against China. See, one thing is that the trade dispute is there with China. Australia is having trade dispute with China. And at the same time, there are several restrictions posed on the movement of Chinese or movement of Australia in the Chinese region. Free movement of people is not there. Okay, in the era of globalization, we want China to give access to movement of people, but China wants people to come into Australia and then receive all kind of benefits, education, jobs and all. But the same kind of thing has not been reciprocated by China. These are the two aspects which Australia has been not been so much interested in China, as in the sense that, and also there is some military trouble also with China that is happening with Australia, where the Chinese infrastructure that is being developing in South China Sea is very close to northern Australian borders. Obviously, right? I hope I have cleared that point. Okay. Yeah. Vaccine diplomacy. What is the recent update related to vaccine diplomacy? And that is the outcome of last year's joint statement also. In the sense that Australia, Japan, USA will be funding and India will be producing these vaccines for ASEAN countries. So it is challenging China, no, economically or any other in other dimensions, in whatever way that we can challenge China, even for climate change. This grouping has established a separate body or wing within itself to make sure that there is a net zero emission by 2050 in the world. Okay. And there are many other things also, even space collaboration. ASEAN countries are not having such much of technology or human resource to build their own capabilities to build their own space technologies and all. Okay, then these Quad countries can come together and provide that need for them. They need not go to China every time, and they are using Chinese infrastructure, Chinese spacecraft to use to meet their needs. Okay, for telecommunication needs or anything. ASEAN countries. Now they can find an alternative through Quad. That is where space collaboration is also coming into this Quad. So initially Quad focused primarily on open and free, but it is becoming now opening. It is opening to new avenues. It is finding its path towards different sectors. Okay. So when coming to the is Quad relevant for even for military purpose also, or the strategic dimension also? What the author particularly says, the important, interesting line that was, which I really liked is that, see, he says that UK, US is okay, it is a strategic part and it will have a military presence there. But defense, in a dimension of defense, the Quad is going to address that aspect with a different trajectory, in a different trajectory. It is not completely neglecting that dimension of China's challenge. Okay. Probably it might provide some kind of cushion to this grouping. So it does not want Quad to become an ASEAN NATO. Okay, Asian NATO. Quad is not like an Asian NATO that it will come up with certain military posture and confront with China. No, don't think it as that way. It will try to cover the defense challenge or strategic challenge that China is posing in a different alternative way. Though it has not been finding any way right now, but it is going to provide an alternative version, alternative route for us. Okay, if at all that kind of this military posture is not working out, where will the countries go back again? They'll come to Quad, no? Hard power itself is not enough. So Quad will become something like a soft power, posturing of soft power, in fact. Right? So in that aspect, Quad relevance has not been diluted. In the sense that there is one more trouble, the impact which we are talking about, that India may not be able to bring together like-minded countries, no? But with these all things, can't it bring? India still has opportunity. So, and then India wants to have its own strategic presence, take its own strategic decisions or sovereign decisions without being influenced by any other power. It should not be worried about Quad or anything. If it wants to build a relationship with the like-minded countries, it should go and do, even though whether Quad is there or not. Right? So, Quad is just a means for it. But not, that is not the only way to do, no? To bring the like-minded countries together. So, even though Quad might not be the only way, I am telling that Quad might not be the only way through which we can bring the like-minded countries. That is the only dimension that I want to mention. But anyway, Quad is still relevant. Quad, once the bigger powers are coming together and meeting and talking about certain things, the world has the eyes and ears to listen to them and watch them, even with related to ASEAN. That is the importance here. In that great powers, India is part. But no, one trouble that Quad might see is that the Australia, after coming into this group, it has recently called China to join Quad. And we should see how this nomenclature or this gameplay is going to unfold now. It wants China to come into the Quad grouping. So indirectly their Quad grouping has formed to confront with China. No, still, because Australia is probably, that is what I am trying to understand. Since Australia, this group will be, will be having some kind of hard power. Since this group is having a soft power persuasive skills, it can include China in this grouping, and I think India will also agree to it, one or the other way, because it does not want to confront with China directly. It will use almost all the soft skills that India has, and that is a good outcome. I think that Australia has not come out of its agitation. It is confronting with China through this, and it is also want to negotiate with China under Quad. Probably we should see China. You should see the update in recent times whether China will join or not. Otherwise, these members of this grouping should also be agreeing, to make China to join this particular group. Okay, that is the whole aspect of Quad and this all things. Probably tomorrow, William's Quad question might come. We'll see. And a question related to Quad will be very easy, even if it comes to prelim, even if it comes in prelims. So next topic. Okay, strategy for India in a world that is adrift. This is article written by Shivashankar Menon. Okay, he is a former foreign service officer. So what he talks about in this article is that the current global status, okay, the current global world order, and the opportunities and challenges that India has, and what can India do about it. These are the three areas that he is talking about. See, current status, of global order, and then opportunities, challenges for India, and then the way forward or way ahead. So what is the current global world order? What are the present things? That is very easy, no? Climate change, one of the aspect, but not particularly. Okay, okay, we'll talk about climate change also. Okay, yeah, climate change next. Global, we'll talk about politics, not about this climate change. Okay, see, Cold War has ended. What was the world called? What is the world order called? Bipolar, yes. And which polar are we aiming for? Yeah, multipolar. And where are we now? We are not completely multipolar, neither bipolar. Right? That is the world order now. We are in that situation now. Second, there is no overarching international body that is placed even now. There is no effective multilateral institution that we are seeing now. Multilateral institutions, in order to meet this goal, there are no multilateral institutions or effective international setup. That is why we are unable to come out with proper action in climate change or anything related. We till now do not have any kind of convention related to countering terrorism. Okay, definition of terrorism has not been agreed upon by any country. That is where the trouble lies with regard to that convention. Any act of violence can be considered as terror. If at all, if that is a kind of terror, that the broader aspect of definition that we can have, some countries will have trouble there. Right? That is why we are not finding any common agenda for countering terrorism. What else now? What are the things that are changing related to technology? We are seeing information world now. We are in information world, right? Which is more sensitive than previous world, right? And what is happening is polarization of data is happening. More and more data is concentrated on few countries like USA, probably USA only, not like USA. But anyway, now polarization of data in this information world. Data is a new avenue, new resource for economic growth, right? So when that kind of polarization will take place, how will the world order move? Right? What else are the changes? Recent, just now we mentioned rise of China. Why rise of China particularly is because China is not playing particularly a positive role to push for multipolar world order. It wants a China-centric world order. Right? It wants a China-centric world order. That is the trouble here. If it is pushing for multipolar world order, it is a well and good. It will not hesitate upon certain things in the world. It should come out of its hesitation, and is very aggressive to make that world follow this China-centric world become. What else? What else are you finding? Democracy is being challenged. Okay. But it is not, it is just a challenge, but democracy itself has a cushion for itself, no? But I don't think it is a bigger challenge for the world to face now, because most of the countries, more than 150 countries are now democratic countries. But anyway, I am talking about the world order only. I'm not talking about the problems that the world is facing. These are the problems: terrorism, climate change. Okay, and but important thing is inequality. Both between the states as well as within the states. Okay, and then fifth is, now previously we discussed about Quad. Now this Indo-Pacific is becoming the pivot for the geopolitical tensions or geopolitical order. Okay, Indo-Pacific. This is 6th point. Okay, so these are the areas where the world order is present now. In this area, tell me what kind of opportunities that India is seeing. It is just an analysis that you need to understand what kind of points that you can put it there or remove them. That is what I am trying to help you guys there. Opportunities is that India is coming closer to USA. There are several converging issues that are happening between India and USA. Space collaboration, trade, economy, okay, business collaborations are happening. Okay. And then in this aspect, the new countries want to come to India and invest. They are coming out of China. Right? That is an important opportunity that India is. And then opportunity can be tapped because of the demography that India has. India has a favorable democracy till the year 2045. That is what World Population Report says. Okay. Until 2045, India will have a favorable demography, and in order to reap dividends out of this demography, that is what we call demographic dividend, we need to upskill ourselves. Okay, educate ourselves. That is important aspect. What else are the opportunities now? Tell me. Demography. And there are certain middle powers which are actively becoming a natural partners for India. Middle powers, not just big powers. Middle powers are also becoming natural partners. What are these middle powers? Quad, Australia, Germany, Australia, Canada. These are all middle powers. They all consider India as a natural partner now. With Germany, we are pushing for G4 countries. Grouping is there with Germany, where we are trying to have a permanent position in National Security Council, United Nations Security Council. The reforms are there, no? United Nations Security Council reforms are there. India with Germany under G4 is trying to have a place in United Nations Security Council. Okay. Can you identify any other opportunities here? Any other opportunities in the world? Yes, very good. India is home for, I think 30% of malnourished population is there in India, and 90% of workforce is in informal sector. And where is unemployment now? It's probably at 4.5% right now. Okay, it was 6% 2 years back, and it has come down to 5% or somewhere like that. Because of COVID also, that acceleration has been reduced. And then inequality in incomes is also clearly visible, no? Oxfam report. You should always remember Oxfam report there. Okay. Not only between the countries, but also within the countries it is happening. Okay, the difference between the rich and the poor is increasing ever and ever. And then specifically to meet SDG goals, India finds a new huge opportunity there. And technology wise, India has this information technology wise, India has enough resource pool to build credible infrastructure, information related infrastructure, ITC related infrastructure, right? Information and communication technology, ICT. India has that resource, talent pool is there. So these kind of opportunities that India is having now. Okay. And can China confront with with related to China, what kind of opportunities that India has? China is going to push towards China-centric world order, and India knows that it is not going to happen. Why? What is the opportunity that India is finding? That is because China is having territorial disputes with like-minded countries, with certain countries, with ASEAN countries, where India can find an opportunity to build relationship with. Right, Vietnam it is happening that way only. Philippines it is happening. Why it is trying to export ships, military ships, navy ships, and BrahMos missile to these countries. Right, that is the opportunity that India is finding because the China is having geographical constraints and territorial disputes. Okay, now come to challenges. What kind of challenges that India is facing in this global world order? First and foremost is China is a stronger country now. Both militarily as well as economically. It's having huge resources. How much of the forex reserves it is having now? More than trillion. Okay, and we are at 600 billion now. Okay, that is a trouble here. China is stronger now. What else are the challenges? See, the China-Russia nexus, which is increasing, is a trouble now. After 2014, Russia has annexed Crimea of Ukraine. Ukraine country is there. Identify the Crimea area. Okay, identify the geographical relationship there. Since then, Russia and China are coming together. Russia has been pulled out of G8 grouping, and then Russia is finding an avenue in building relationship with China. Though it is having border disputes with China, they have overcome that hesitation and their disputes. And now China and also needs Russia to meet its energy needs. They are building huge gas pipeline from Russia to China. Okay, natural gas pipeline. So in that way, both the countries are coming closer and closer nowadays. That is one of the challenges that the world itself and even the India will be facing certain difficulties there. And then one more challenge is changing equations in the Middle East. Now the focus has been shifted from Middle East to Indo-Pacific region. What are the changes that are happening in Middle East? India cannot neglect Middle East, no. It is a very close neighbor. India is building ports there. Chabahar port. It depends on oil with the Middle Eastern countries. And its opportunities are actually opposite to the world opportunity or the US opportunity. US look at the Middle East. Okay. See the rise of Iran. Okay. And the Afghanistan under Taliban now. Right, these are the changes that are happening in Middle East. And India wants a better relationship with Iran, but USA is confronting with Iran. And how can USA and India cooperate in particular regions? there is a tit for tat thing that can happen. No, it does not want USA to suffer. It wants to build Iran to have better relationship with India because of the infrastructure development that we are having taking place. And the rise of Taliban in India, we know that Pakistan is providing safe havens to Taliban, and now Afghanistan is getting more and is probably getting more and more closer to Pakistan to build its relationship, which might hamper India's relationship with again. And now with USA going out of this region, the things or geopolitics equations within this Afghan will change. And how will India confront them without any proper credible support for it? It is left alone, no, without any kind of power now. And then the self-imposed isolation is one more challenge. What is the self-imposed isolation? India is not speaking under SAARC grouping. The SAARC has been left idle till now. And with regard to non-aligned movement, there is a big group. Even now, after the new government, our Prime Minister has not even gone to meet any single meeting related to non-aligned movement. Okay, it is maintaining an isolation in certain groupings, which is not good, which is affecting the India's neighborhood relationship. Okay, why is it? It is very much important for us. So whenever there is an opportunity, China is coming and finding a relationship, trying to build relationship. No, so definitely India's neighborhood, weak relationship with our neighborhood is one of the challenge here. That comes with the next challenge. That is the foremost challenge, important challenge for India. Why USA is so dominant country in the world now? Because it does not have any kind of disputes with any country. It is above, north of it, it is having Canada. It does not have any disputes. South of it is having Mexico. Of it is anyway weak power. It can directly be confronted by USA. And it is having Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean. It is not having any kind of geographical tensions. But India has. Okay. It is very difficult for India to become a global power if it is not able to. So when we talk about America, what is the first thing that will come into your picture? USA. But America means only USA? No. There is China, there is Canada, there is even America means South America will also come into the picture when we talk about America. That is the soft power of America, okay? When we talk about America, for us it will come as, okay, United States of America. That is the soft power of that country. So these are the challenges. So how can we address these challenges? How can we address them? First thing is neighborhood policy. It needs to be revamped, and again we need to rebuild our relationship with countries like Nepal and Sri Lanka, especially. With Bangladesh it is okay, it is not too problematic right now. Okay, they are having very good relationship, not completely bad, but Sri Lanka and Nepal are little controversy in the sense that now China is very much interested in building infrastructure there. Building infrastructure in Bangladesh is little difficult for them, but reaching Sri Lanka through ocean is very easier for them, and providing road and rail connectivity for Nepal to export its goods through Chinese ports. Now Nepal is dependent on India to export its goods, okay, to meet its exports and all. Exports and imports, all things are happening from Indian ports itself, Nepal. But now with road and rail connectivity that China is trying to aim, Nepal is going to find an alternative route to export its goods and meet its import needs. Okay, that is the challenge. So neighborhood policy, we need to revamp that neighborhood policy. And Shiv Shankar Menon is saying one particular thing. Okay, issue-based coalition. So indirectly he is talking about this thing. What is a BIMSTEC? He wants India to focus and strengthen this BIMSTEC. So these BIMSTEC countries are not having any kind of trouble. Okay, the dialogue won't be any constrained by the problems of bilateral relationships. With related to SAARC is a big grouping, but the bilateral relationship with India and Pakistan has disrupted the progress of that particular grouping. But BIMSTEC is not such kind of thing. It is focused upon the countries along the Bay of Bengal. Okay, they are having a common problem. Okay, related to climate change or even related to use of these marine resources. Okay, use economic benefit and trade between these countries using Bay of Bengal. All these things can happen. So isolated issue-based correlation can be pushed forward. That is a very important suggestion that he has made. Okay, and definitely is talking about improving the security confluence with USA. Having a great power behind you is very much important. And they are having a, convergence in approach, convergence in thinking, convergence in problems that you are facing. They are having a common goals or common problems that they are facing. So USA and India, they need to come even more together. That is what the author is trying to say. These are the three suggestions that he has made. Convergence with USA. Okay. I think I'll end my session now. If you are having any doubts, you can ask. Okay then, thank you. I'll meet you next time.
Welcome to Vishnu IAS Academy. We are excited to announce the launch of our new courses. Contact us for registrations and counseling. Hard work never fails. Keep learning.